Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers lose to the Columbus Blue Jackets 7-3 at Madison Square Garden in what was a massive, massive loss in terms of playoff implications. And so ends a very, very disappointing weekend where the Rangers blow the game late to Ottawa, a game that they very easily should have won in regulation, and end up losing it in overtime. And this one against Columbus just was really not very good defensively, awful. Jonathan Quick was in net, which, look, I had said in yesterday's episode after the Ottawa game that I felt as if, and it's not to say that Igor, two things in play here. It's not as if Igor has been absolutely unbelievably great, and it's not as if Jonathan Quick has been, terrible, right? Like those two things are definitely in play. But just knowing the stakes of this game, and Igor Shesterkin is your number one goalie. You just, sign him to a massive contract extension. Thought that maybe that would have been the play. Now, look, like if Igor plays in this game, it could have been the same result. And for the Jonathan Quick goals, I want to just say this. Like, some of them don't look bad in the end result of it, but he's out of position constantly. Like, it's just things that look like just easy tap-ins or things like that. Like, it's a little bit misleading. He is, that's his style, right? I mean, he's different than Igor. Like I've said, like Igor is more, there's a little bit less movement going on. He's a little more still, where Quick is just like, that's why he gets all these crazy saves. It's for that reason. So wasn't thrilled that he was in net, and he wasn't good. I mean, again, you allow 7 goals, it speaks for itself, but also the defense was horrendous. Look, the fact of the matter is this. Your six defensemen that you have right now, they're all playing, or almost all of them are playing, really way more than they should. And the responsibilities are way more than it should be, right? Adam Fox is a huge loss in more ways than one. And the defense was the same as the last game. And I wouldn't be totally shocked if Calvin DeHaan is in next game, right? And look, for better or worse, Zach Jones is probably the one that's at risk of being taken out of the lineup. Although for as long as Adam Fox is out, I think that they'll be hard pressed to take Zach Jones out, because then you're really dealing with a very non-mobile, very much slower defense. But it was a rough night for so many of the defenders. Specifically for me, like the Vakanainen and Schneider pair struggled, and Braden Schneider, who did score a goal, he did have a shorthanded goal in this game. Schneider, really, his mistakes have been glaring to me lately, more than I really noticed before. So not thrilled about that. Like, again, his progression to me is kind of at a standstill. Earl Vakanainen, like, look, he's a nice third pairing depth defenseman. He played almost 21 minutes in this game. Like, that's a lot more than he should be playing. That's just what it is. Schneider is a little bit more, in terms of, like, that's more acceptable for me, for the fact that I think that Braden Schneider, like, you want to see what he can do. Vakanainen is a different story. Like, he's a 6th, 7th defenseman. That's just what it is. But you have individual mistakes as well. And look, Will Borgen has been one of the more consistent guys on defense. But even he, I think it was the second goal where he turns it over and it goes the other way and Columbus scores. Who else? Look, like Carson Soucy and Zach Jones. That was not great either. And Carson Soucy only played 13 minutes in this game. I think they're going to work him in kind of slowly. But, like, look, I had my concern. Like, when he was acquired, I had my concerns. I like the fact that he gives you another option, and the fact that if it somehow does go well, and he's had success in the past, that it could be good. But, like, he hasn't been good this year for Vancouver. And so you have to see what happens there. So, yeah, a really bad night, specifically by the defenseman. But look, for the forwards, it wasn't all that much better. And they did make a lineup change. Brett Berard was in for Juuso Parssinen, which to me made a lot of sense. I would probably continue that next game if I were the Rangers. However, there's other candidates if you did want to get Parssinen back in. But to me, Berard should be in there. But, yeah, really the best line, even though you wouldn't really know it statistically, just in terms of consistent, good ozone pressure and things like that, was the Brodzinski centering Othman and Rempe line. That line to me seemed to be giving you your best shifts time and time again. It was a really rough night for Will Cooley. That line really wasn't good. Cooley, JT Miller, and Mika Zibanejad were not good. And Cooley, I know he was sick. I think he missed practice on Friday, so maybe he's dealing with that. But yeah, not the best of games for Will Cooley. Um, and like nothing you're gonna do about it, but you got to call it out. And he that first goal, he had a bad cross-size pass that led to a goal. He took a penalty later on, which I think when he took the penalty, I think it actually did lead to two shorthanded goals for the Rangers, but still, not a great night for him, not a great night for that line. Um, you know, so it was Kreider with Carrick and Berard, which is a weird line. I mean, Kreider was all right in this game. He scored a shorthanded goal as well. The crazy thing is the Rangers had two shorthanded goals in very short order um, to tie the game. And again, here's another example where the Rangers down by 2 goals. Now they did tie it, but they didn't win. The Rangers are the only team in the NHL that have not won a single game when trailing by 2 goals. Whereas just yesterday they had a 2-goal lead and lost. Rangers have 1 point, and it was the home opener versus Utah. The only time they even got a point when trailing by 2 goals. And so that's not great, right? I mean, the Rangers really have been a team that has been able to come back in recent seasons. And I'm just not seeing that as much this year. So this was a critical loss. The thing is, you do play Columbus again next Saturday at Columbus, the last meeting with them. I mean, that is so close to a must-win game, in my opinion. There's 18 games left. Like, this was bad. I entered this weekend thinking, okay, if the Rangers can at least just split these two, you kind of just live to fight another day. But the way they lost the Ottawa game and now just to get the doors blown off them against Columbus at home, it's concerning. And not for nothing as well, but the Devils, who have kind of they've fallen to the point where their spot is somewhat in curious condition as far as them making the playoffs, and they won today. So really, this felt really bad. And look, there's still a lot of season to go. 18 games is not nothing, but you're getting down to the stretch, and it is possible that those final teams that make it are the Devils, who were there the whole time, Ottawa and Columbus. And there's other teams that are around, but I can't tell you enough how bad this was, and it really makes that Ottawa loss even worse. If you could have at least won that game, if you're the Rangers, yes, this Columbus loss would not have been good. I would not have been happy about it, but it's like, all right, you split the weekend. You got 2 points. Columbus got 2 points, and Ottawa would have had none. And you play Columbus again. But that didn't happen. So, and it's not going to get any easier. The Rangers' next game, it's a 3-game road trip starting with Winnipeg, who has arguably been the best team in the NHL this season, and they're coming off of a loss at Carolina. But we'll touch on that a little bit after we go through this Columbus game. The goaltending matchup was Jonathan Quick for the Rangers, and in goal for Columbus was Tarasov. So he's the backup, but he had a really nice outing against the Rangers back at Madison Square Garden on January 18th, where the Rangers won 1-0 in the shootout. And Tarasov did the job again. Now, I would say that for him, like the Schneider goal wasn't good, but the other 2 goals, really nothing he could do on either of those, and he made some big saves. He was a lot better than Jonathan Quick. So Columbus jumps out to the early lead, and I felt like the Rangers' best period was probably their first, where it was low-event hockey, and yes, they do give up this goal here, but ultimately, it was a little boring, but I actually thought their first period was halfway decent. It's the second period where things just were completely fucked. And it would be Justin Danforth who scores his 7th goal of the season, assisted by Zach Werenski. And it was a bad turnover by Will Cooley, going cross-ice in the offensive zone, and it goes to Werenski, and he passes to Danforth. It goes back to Werenski. He makes a nice move around Susie, just undresses him. And then it's kind of a little bit of a 2-on-1 where Zach Jones just can't defend it. And it goes from Werenski to Danforth. Easy goal. That one is not Quick's fault. That makes it 1-0 Columbus. And then at 11:46, and this is where, again, that Ranger power play is bad. Rangers are more of a threat to score shorthanded than the power play. It continues to be a massive problem. Chris Kreider is back on the power play, which makes sense. Is it going to make a difference as far as results? I don't know, but to me, that's more sensible. So Vincent Trocheck moves to power play too. At 11:46, Kent Johnson interferes with Brett Berard. And this was a kind of a dangerous play where the bench opened for Columbus. So really, it was probably Johnson didn't necessarily like he didn't know. It's really a bad job by the Columbus bench. It's dangerous to leave that door open. And so Berard was in pain, but he was all right. Rangers don't score on this power play. But the Rangers do tie it up. At 19:31, so less than 30 seconds left in the period, Artemi Panarin's at it again. I believe it's five. It's a five game goal streak for Artemi Panarin. His 28th goal of the season assisted by Lafreniere and Trocheck. So a faceoff won by Trocheck. He finds Lafreniere, and Lafreniere is able to take a shot that gets through and a really nice tip by Artemi Panarin, and it goes past Tarasov and in to tie it up at one. That felt like a big goal at the time, and it was. And then the Rangers draw another power play, and it's Brett Berard doing it again. He's interfered by Matvichuk to give the Rangers a power play. But of course, they don't score. And this goes into the second period. And not only that, but after they don't score, Columbus gets a couple of quick goals. And this happened twice. The Rangers could not stop the bleeding. And it was Adam Fantilli who would score a hat trick in this game. His first goal of the night. It's his 19th goal of the season from Voronikov at 3:07. And this was the one I was saying before where Borgen turns it over in the offensive zone. Columbus goes the other way. I think Borgen drops his stick as well. And it's just it's a nice shot by Fantilli. It's one for me that, it goes glove side over quick. It's one that I think could have been stopped, but it makes it 2-1 Columbus. And then right after that, 26 seconds after, at 3:33, Fantilli scores again from Voronikov again. And this was one where Braden Schneider just loses the puck behind the Ranger net. And Zibanejad was in the mix. Vakanainen loses his man, which was Fantilli. And it's a quick goal to give the Blue Jackets 3-1 lead. And they almost made it 4-1. Like, this was on the verge of really getting ugly early. And at 6:13, Will Cooley holds Ivan Provorov. So you're thinking, okay, this is about to be game, set, and match. But it wasn't. The Rangers scored 2 shorthanded goals on this power play. Braden Schneider scoring the first one. It's his 4th goal of the season from Trocheck and Zibanejad. Again, Schneider had a lot of room to roam and shoot, but I thought that was still not a great goal by Tarasov. But either way, Rangers will take it. It makes it 3-2. And then at 7:36, another shorthanded goal. It's Kreider, his 18th goal of the season from Zibanejad. So it was a turnover in the neutral zone, which leads to a 2-on-0 between Zibanejad and Kreider. They pass it back and forth, and eventually Zibanejad goes to Kreider and he scores. The crowd's going crazy. And, that was a huge moment to make it 3-3. And there were opportunities for the Rangers to maybe even make it 4-3. They don't do so. And at 17:03, Matthew Olivier scores his 13th goal of the season, assisted by Werenski and Fabro. And this was one where Braden Schneider just easily gives the puck to Columbus at the point. I believe it was to Fabro. Without even really, he had so much time, without even thinking about it, it gives possession to Columbus. And then from there, and Schneider was the one that ends up in front. I think Werenski finds Olivier in front for a tip-in. And look, Quick seemed a little bit out of position there as well, but either way, bad job by Braden Schneider that makes it 4-3 Columbus. And then the one that really, really hurts and really feels like it puts it somewhat out of reach because the Rangers were down 2, tied it up, and now they're down 2 again because Dante Fabro scores his 5th goal of the season from Corrali and Van Riemsdyk at 18:47. And this was just bad defense by the Rangers. They were hemmed in. They were unable to get the puck out. And the JT Miller line with Cooley and Zibanejad, again, were just hemmed in. And Fabro just takes a shot and scores past Quick. Easy. And it makes it 5-3 Columbus. So we go to the third period. And the Rangers had a power play opportunity. But, of course, they don't score on it. At 5:57, Provorov is called for delay game. But they cannot get the job done. It is problematic. This Ranger team needs to just be semi-decent on the power play. And then at 10:17, Matthew Olivier scores again, his 14th goal of the season unassisted. What happens here is Zach Jones actually puts the puck into his own net. Lafreniere turns it over. It wasn't an egregious turnover, but Lafreniere turns it over in the offensive zone. And Olivier just kind of beats Olivier puts it towards net, and Lafreniere was on him. And it was Zach Jones, I think, going up against Ken Johnson. And originally I thought it was Johnson, but no, it goes off of Zach Jones' glove and in to make this a 6-3 game at 10:17. So that really, if there was any hope, that dashed it right there. And then at 11:51, again, these goals are coming in bunches. Adam Fantilli gets the hat trick. His 21st goal of the season, assisted by Marchenko and Severson. And the unfortunate thing here is it's not deserved, as it was the Rempe line with, Brodzinski and Othman that were on for this one. They deserved a better fate. But unfortunately, another pretty easy goal. But the weird thing here, again, as much as this was a terrible goal by the Rangers, Quick was like, again, way, way out of position. It made no sense. And so that makes it 7-3 Columbus. From there, at 12:41, there was a hit by Luke Cunnin on Vincent Trocheck, which led to some fisticuffs. It led to a fight between Will Borgen and Cunnin. Rangers ended up with a power play out of this, but didn't score. And it's a football score. Columbus ends up winning 7-3 against the Rangers. And so now here goes where the Rangers, like I had been saying, were so good against their competition. That kind of ends with this loss. However, the one caveat I will say is if the Rangers can get a regulation win specifically at Columbus in less than a week from now, this is more forgivable and you can kind of live with that, right? I mean, of course, you want to win all four. Now, keep in mind that the Rangers did win a shootout game at home. So they did not do well against Columbus at home, but they won a clutch game, the last game before the Four Nations break at Columbus. And so it's another one. So they've had a lot of games against them in pretty short order. And I'm telling you, that is going to be a massive game. But what are you going to do before that if you're the Rangers? You're at Winnipeg and then at Minnesota. The Winnipeg one's going to be tough. The Rangers lost to Winnipeg earlier in the season. And again, Winnipeg's coming off a loss, which I don't love either. They have their work cut out for them. I mean, this is going to be really tough time for the Rangers. Like, they're in it. I mean, look, they're right in it still. Don't get me wrong. But, like, now, for me, like, they're on the wrong side of it. Like, in a pretty significant way, in my opinion, right now. I still think that Columbus is probably the team that is more likely to be tracked down. Just making a prediction, I think Ottawa is a little bit better, possibly. And there's still, again, there's the devil factor as well. Like the Devils, there's always the chance they could fall off. Rangers have one more game in New Jersey later in the year, and they have this one more game with Columbus. So that's the problem. They don't have opportunities in head-to-head matchups. That's what you had this weekend, and the Rangers really, really blew their opportunity. So ends a really disappointing weekend after the trade deadline. You're not feeling great for the Rangers right now. And now it's a 3-game road trip at Winnipeg, at Minnesota, and then a massive game after this massive loss against Columbus, that time in Columbus. So we'll see what happens. But the Rangers get destroyed at Madison Square Garden. They lose 7-3 to the Columbus Blue Jackets.